Hello everybody, it's me Nate, aka Devil Dog, and I'm back with another video. As you can tell by the thumbnail, I waited a little while to come out with this because I wanted to give it a fair chance. This is my review and rant of The Crow 2024. Reason why it took me so long to get this out is after I seen the new movie The Crow, which I might add, I think I'm the only one who has. I went back and I watched the original one, not the other ones. I think there was like 4 made, but the original, the OG with Brandon Lee in it. Now this new one was been in development hell for a long time, and originally one of the people they wanted to cast as Eric Draven was Jason Momoa. That's not a joke, but instead they went with Bill Skarsgård. Now here's the thing. First of all, I have to say about Bill Skarsgård. I love the guy. He is a great actor. We all know him best as playing Pennywise the Clown, but he was in this really kick-ass movie that came out not that long ago called Boy Kills World, I think it was. Go see that movie. That movie's fantastic. And honestly, for what he has given in this movie, I give Bill Skarsgård credit. But, I'm going to tell you about the movie and not really spoil much of anything. And then I'm going to get into my rant. Now, first about the movie, it's different than the original. They changed some things on it, but it's still fundamentally somewhat the same building blocks. You got Eric Draven and his lady that get brutally murdered. Naturally, Eric comes back from the grave with the help of in this one, it's like an oracle god or whatever that imbues him with the power of the crow and the ability to reheal. And he goes on his quest for revenge to kill everyone that killed him and his lover. And as things progress, it basically kills them one by one. Most of it is kind of slow paced, and it has some really decent firefights, but it doesn't really progress. It seems to be way too much of a setup of Eric Draven becoming the Crow and diving into this backstory that isn't really needed. And honestly, the chemistry between Bill Skarsgård and his lover in this isn't bad. It isn't bad. But they don't really give enough time to develop these characters, and I don't care for any of the villains. I don't care for any of the bad guys. They seemed lame to me. And also, the other thing that bothers me is the first movie had this charm about it, not because of the terrible death of Brandon, but just the fact of the art style. It had this gothic art style. It had this, everything about it was this gothic rock. And it worked. The acting of, Brandon Lee in the first movie was phenomenal. And it was a shame that most of it had to be done with like stunt doubles and CGI replacement. And at the time, that wasn't really ever heard of. And the villains were so much better, including Top Dollar and all of them from the first movie. They all had these personalities that were cool and different, but douchey at the same time, so you couldn't wait for them to get killed. And in this one, it has no real charm. The flow of the movie is terrible. It's slow pacing. None of the main bad guys I gave a shit about. Not that you're supposed to give a shit about them, but their acting just wasn't good. And the chemistry of the bad guys didn't work. And while Bill Skarsgård tried his best with the material that was given, you could clearly tell that this has been in development hell for so long that honestly the script was not well written. It was terribly paced. The effects, oh my God, it has some of the worst shaky cam footage. When there is action, you can't really see anything, which I always hated when people make movies like that. But honestly, if I were to say that I had never seen any of the original Crows, and this was my first chance to see it, considering if you look at the comic books, it's based off of O'Barr's comic books. If this was the first one I went into, I would be disappointed, but it's barely watchable. It's barely watchable. And the problem is it got typecast over the fact that everyone thinks you should have never made a remake of the original, even though there was like 4 or 5 movies made from the original. Go back and look. Yes, they were sequels, but nonetheless, they were still more made. But the first one, hands down, the visual flair, the artistic stylings of it are just off the map cool. Even to this day, when I went back and rewatched it, I enjoyed it so much more now rewatching it. And seeing the 2024 version, I feel bad for Bill Skarsgård. I really do. I think he was contractually obligated to do this, so he went and did it, and he did a good job. He really did. But once again, it reminds me of bargain basement Jay Leto Joker in a really drab, boring ass set piece environment. The city they're in, just I get they're trying to go for more realistic, but that's part of the original movie's charm and the original source material's charm. And this one does not have any of that. Now, on to the rant of this movie. Like I said, the pacing of it sucked. It seemed like it took forever to have anything happen, and when it did, you didn't really get to see jack shit. Some of the shootouts were cool. Some of the effects with Eric healing and stuff, they were done good. But once again, honestly, it just doesn't have the heart and soul and the charm of the original one. And I blame these corporate execs for pushing to try to get a remake of this for so many years. And I would have hated to see what it would have been like with Jason Momoa. That would not have looked right at all. And like I said, he comes off as this bargain basement, odd lots brand Jay Leto Joker with his body tattoos and the face paint and the backstory with the person that allows him to come back from the dead. And it is a sad story, but I can see why it's a box office flop. It's god awful, and this is the part I have to get to right now. Is I agree with what most people say. If you made a sequel to the Crow franchise, okay, I don't think people would have had too much of a problem with it, because even the original comic book stories centers upon basically multiple different versions of the Crow, okay? So you could theoretically make another movie. You can make another sequel. But I think what really pissed off most people and also made me feel like this was just wrong is the fact that this is a remake of the original. And we all know, after the tragic fate of Brandon Lee and the performance he did as the Crow in it, even though some of the actors weren't that good, but the villains were so much better. The flamboyant, world that they had built in the first movie was so much better that everybody thinks it is blasphemy. It's a travesty to actually go and make a remake of a movie that did not need to be remade. And I agree with that 100%. If this would have been a new version of it and not some sort of remake, reboot, like a sequel, I would not have had a problem with it. Especially if they had some respect to honor Brandon Lee. But the fact that this is trying to just erase the original movie that is so much better in every single way, I can understand why so many people were pissed off when they heard this and they didn't even give it a chance. And I'll say this. If the movie was good, I would say go and see it. But the movie's not good. The effects aren't good. The overall story building is not good. The character development is terrible. The pacing is so god-awful bad. The city that they have is just so blah and boring. It has no charm, no style. And the soundtrack sucked too, okay? I didn't like the soundtrack. I'm tired of them trying. I get trying to modernize for the modern day person, but this is not how you do it, okay? This is not how you do it. You need to leave The Crow alone. This should have never came out. I wish they would have canceled it, because this is just a shit stain on the original movie. So all I can say to you people out there is if this is going to release soon on streaming services, I would at least say, if you have a streaming service and they play The Crow 2024, watch it. Okay? Watch it. Okay? So you know exactly what not to do with rebooting a most beloved film franchise. Okay? And do what I do. Watch the new one and then go back and watch the original. And then you'll understand why so many people were like, fuck you, don't come out with this, that's blasphemy, how dare you? I don't blame people, I really don't. But like I said, don't go see this movie unless they watch it, it happens to be on a streaming service that you already pay for other things, and watch it just for a comparison. And when you watch it, go back and watch the original to see how a true movie was made. And how a reboot tried to cash grab. I hope whoever came up with this ideas gets fucking fired. Send their ass to a Chuck E. Cheese or something. Or make them blowing meat behind a dumpster at Wendy's. These fucking these fucking corpos. They can't do anything right. No original ideas, nothing. Let's just remake something. Well, you know what? At least have some respect on the source material. Do it right. And don't do it in a way that's disrespectful to someone who passed away while filming the first movie, which is still hands down the best one in the entire Crow series. That's my personal feeling about this. Please leave in the comments below if you actually went and seen Crow 2024. I don't have to ask you which one you like better. We all know the original, the OG, is always the best. But please leave lots of comments below of your take on this. Your real reason why you didn't want this one being made. Is it similar to what I said? But once again, here at Devil Dog Gaming, we always end our videos by saying, have fun, play hard, and remember people, the devil is in the details. Peace out until next time.